just browsing here because we did this last week. For example, right here we have 1/2. 1/2 equals to 2/4, and 2/4 equals to 4/8. And you remember that when we are adding fractions with the same denominator, it doesn't change. We're just adding our numerators, and that's that, right? So 1/2 it's equal to 4/8, right? So that's that. Yes, that's our equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions are fractions that have the same value even though they look different. They have the same value but they look different. Nay, it's either the fraction is being simplified or it's not simplified. Like for example, when we simplify 4/8, when we simplify it, we must get our highest common factor, and our highest common factor will be 4. Since our highest common factor will be 4, we'll divide both numbers by 4, and then when it's simplified, it will most definitely be 1/2, and that is our equivalent fractions. You can see right here, right? So now let's do the activity for our equivalent fractions. So for our equivalent fractions, they say complete the following fractions. So number 1, we have 1/2. 1/2. So on top there for our numerator, we must find out, because you know that equivalent fractions, guys, you must multiply denominator and the numerator by the same number to find an equivalent fraction for that particular fraction, right? So here we have 1/2. If we multiply 1/2 by the very same number, we multiply our numerator and our denominator by the very same number, the new fraction will be equivalent to 1/2, because when we simplify it and we divide it by 2, we will go back to 1/2, right? So now let's complete the first example. So the first example we have, this is right here, we have 1/2, right? So here 1/2, we are trying to find out the equivalent fraction, right? So the equivalent fractions, we only have 8, our denominator, they only gave us our denominator 8. So we must determine that what is the number that they used to multiply in order to get 8, right? So to receive it, we are going backwards, we are reversing. And your multiplication, when you reverse, it's what? It's division. You remember, right? Like, yeah, you remember, right? So let's do it then. It will be 8 divided by 2. That will give us 4. So it means that they multiplied 2 by 4. So 4 multiplied by 2, which is this 2 right here, it will give us 8. So this is how they received our 8. So now it means that they used 4 to multiply. And when we want our equivalent fractions, we multiply our numerator and denominator by the same number. In this case, they used 4. So our 1 right here will multiply it by 4, and it will give us 4 as our final answer. So our new fraction, our fraction will be 4/8. And when we simplify it, it will give us 1/2. So it means that it's our equivalent fractions. All right. Okay, so let's go to number 2. Number 2, we have 2/3. So we must determine what is the number that they used to multiply the numerator and denominator, because we use the same number to multiply the numerator and denominator, right, to get our equivalent fraction, right? So let's do it then. So here we have 6. So in order to know the number that they used to multiply in order to get our equivalent fractions, we must do this. We must divide, right? So we'll have 6 divide by 2, and that will give us 3. So they used 3 to multiply both numbers. So since they use 3 to get 6, because 2 multiplied by 3 equals to 6. So we need to multiply both numbers, which is our numerator and denominator, by the same number. So we are dividing again this 3 by 3, and then we'll have 9. So our answer for number 2, our new fraction, will be 6 over 9. All right. So let's go to number 3. Right. So number 3, we have 4 over 5. 4 of fifth. So in this case, we only have one number, which is 20. And you know equivalent fractions, they multiply your numerator and denominator by the same number, in order to get the equivalent fraction. So in this case, let's determine what is that particular number they used to multiply in order to get 20. In that way, it will be easier for us to get our to receive our numerator for the new equivalent fraction. So obviously we must divide 20 by 5, and that will give us 4. That will give us 4. So it means that they used 4 as the number to multiply both numbers in order to get their equivalent fraction, right? So it means that they said 4 multiplied by 5 equals to 20. So our numerator, we multiply by the same number. We also multiply it by 4. So 4 multiplied by 4 equals to 16. And 4 multiplied by 5 equals to 20. Right. So let's move to number 4. So number 4, we have 50 over 75. And then equals to equivalent to 3. But then we don't know our numerator. They only gave us our denominator, right? So in this case, you can see that they simplified the fraction. So in order to know what number they used to divide, because you can see they simplified the fraction. And when you simplify a fraction, you need to divide by the highest common factor. So since you're going to divide by the highest common factor, so here number 4, it means that they used the highest common factor to simplify. To simplify our fractions, right? So we need to know what is that particular highest common factor so that we can use it to determine our numerator, because here you can see that we only have our denominator, right? Let's erase this. Okay, so now we are doing number 4, right? So number 4 will have 75 divide by 3. And our answer will be 25. So it means that the highest common factor is 25, meaning that the number that they used to simplify this fraction is 25. They used 25 to simplify 50 over 70. So it means that they used one number to divide the numerator and the denominator, right, to find the equivalent fraction. So let's do it then. So when we do it, we'll have this amount here, which is 50 divided by 25, and again 75 divided by 25. And obviously this one gives us 3. And 50 divided by 25 gives us what? 2. So our new fraction for number 4 will be 2 over 3. That's our new fraction for number 4. This one is simplified. They didn't increase the numbers of the fraction, right? So it's basically simplified. So let's go to number 5. So moving on to number 5, guys. Here we are finding the equivalent fraction. We are not done, right? So we must know, since you see that the number here increased, it didn't increase. So it means that they multiplied. If the number increased, then it's definitely, you know that they divided, right? But here they didn't divide anything. They multiply. That's our number 5. So we need to find in that particular number they used, because they only use the same number. We use the same number to multiply our denominator and numerator. If you divide, you must divide the same number with the numerator and denominator, right? Yeah. So now let's do it. We must, to determine the number, obviously we must say 6 divide by 3. That gives us 2, right? So it means that they used 2 to multiply they say 2 multiplied by 3. We can do it right here. By 3, not 3, 2 multiplied by 3 equals to 6, right? So we must use the very same number for our... Okay, let's erase this right here. So it means they use the very same number to multiply the numerator and denominator. So most definitely we have 2, and down here we have 2. So 2 multiplied by 4 gives us 8. So our new fraction will be 6 over 8. Nay. So I hope you did get this right. Let's write it clear here, because this one is a bit messy. So we can see the answer for number 1, 4 over 8, correct. Answer for number 2, 6 over 9, correct. Answer for number 3, 16 over 20. And then answer for number 4 is 2 over 3. And answer for number 5 is 6 over 8, which is correct. Right, so I hope you guys understand, because it's not really that difficult, honestly. So for our class activity, guys, you remember we did common fractions, So now we are going to convert common fractions to decimal fractions. You can convert common fractions to decimal fractions and vice versa. For example, we have 1 over 2, which is in decimal, guys. And before we can continue, guys, you know that when you think of a decimal, let's write it here. A decimal equals to comma. Like when you think of a decimal number, when you think of a decimal, you can't have a decimal if there's no comma there. It is not a decimal fraction or a decimal number or a decimal if there is no comma. When there is a comma there, then the number is a decimal. But if there's no comma, the number is not a decimal. You remember when we were doing common fractions, I told you that common fractions, if you doing your common fraction and you see a comma there, then it's no longer a common fraction. Common fractions do not have commas, but decimal numbers, decimal fractions, how do you see them? You see them with a comma. So we'll be converting, in this case, we'll be converting common fractions to decimal fractions. So example 1, we can see we have a common fraction, which is 1 over 2. And when we convert it to a decimal, it gives us 0.5. And again, we also have a decimal right here. And we must convert it to a percentage, to a fraction again, to a fraction. And when we do convert it to a fraction, it gives us 0,36. So we did it vice versa, ne? But I will show you how you need to do it without using the calculator. There's the simplest way, which is using the calculator. You can just punch in 0,36. You can do it now, guys. And I know you have your calculators there with you. You can just do 0,36 and it will give you a fraction, right? It will give you a fraction, a simplified fraction, not a fraction that is not simplified. It will give you a simplified fraction. Ne? So here, let's simplify our fraction. I used 2, guys. And here we'll have 50, and then we can still simplify this. 18 by 2 is 9. So guys, most importantly, when you finding your fractions, you must put them in their simplest form. Nay, you must simplify them. And you can see that right here, we have this fraction right here. It's simplified. And again, we simplified it using this fractions right here. So it means that these fractions are what? And we just talked about this, 9/25 and 36/100, guys. When you see these fractions, they are what? Can you please just comment and tell me these fractions are what? Because we just talked about it. These fractions are, I would love to see the positive comments, guys. I would really appreciate it. These fractions are what? These fractions are guys, can you please stop talking about other things while you're still in class, ne? Please, 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 please. The answer is equivalent, ne? It means that these fractions are equivalent fractions. It means that they are equivalent fractions. Guys, please stop talking about other things. Just concentrate, because if you don't concentrate, you will be confused. And when you are writing your test, you'll be more confused. So come back. We are doing this right now. I asked the question and only one person was able to answer. Guys, come back. You will talk about that, all that things you are talking about after class or on our Google Classroom. I created a Google Classroom there for you guys. You can comment and talk and do other things. So please stop talking about other things and concentrate and answer my questions, please. So right here, guys, this fraction right here, which is 9/25 and 36/100, is our equivalent fractions. They look different, but they have the same value. That's our equivalent fractions, right? So our equivalent fractions, that's our equivalent fractions. So now, guys, now we'll do number 1. So when we are doing number 1, we'll write the following common fractions as decimals. So we have this first one, which is 3/4, the second one, 7/5, and the third one, which is 5/8. Nay, so let's do it in the whiteboard so that we can have a clear view of what is happening. Nay, let's go to our whiteboard. Here's our whiteboard. So our whiteboard, the first question, we had 7/25 to decimal, right? We must convert it to a decimal. So when we actually do it, converting it to our decimal, we'll use this method right here. We will divide and multiply, and we'll divide and multiply and subtract our numbers. So here we'll have 7 and 25. So 7 divided by 25, it gives us what? 7 divided by 25, it's what? 7 divide by 25, it's 0, right? It's 0, so you write your 0 here, and then we'll also put our 0 right there. And again, because we are dealing with decimal numbers, we have 0 and comma. Name. So again, we are still moving on until we can find a number, not 0, but a number, right? So in this case, again, I'll only do two examples, and I'll do another examples for moving decimals to fractions. So from fractions to decimal, this is how we do it. 7 divided by 25, it's 0, right? 7 divided by 25 gives us 0. Now, okay, here's our 0. We'll write our 0 right here, and we'll also put our 0 right here, and that will be 70. So 70 divided by 25, it will give us 2 comma something, but we're not focusing on the comma something. We are only going to take our whole number, and our whole number is 2, right? So we'll write our 2 right here. So now we have our whole number. We are almost there. Now, guys, please concentrate. This is very, 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 very important. Now, so from here, we'll say 25 multiplied by 2, and that will give us 50. That will give us 50, and then we'll have our subtraction sign right here. So 70 minus 50. What is 70 minus 50? Yes, it's what? It's 20. So we'll have 20 right here. So after this, guys, we need to divide again. We are repeating the very same method in order to get our decimal numbers. Now, we are repeating the very same method in order to get our final answer. And until our answer right here, when we subtract, it says 0. We are not done unless if the answers are the same and they are continuously the same, right? So here we have 20, so we can still work with this. Now, so what is 20 divided by 25? When you say 20 divide by 25, what do you get? You get 0, comma something. When you do it in your calculator, the answer is 0, right? So our answer, since our answer is 0, we'll add our 0 right here. And that will look like a 200, right? So let's do it again. Again, we'll say 200 divide by 25. 200 divided by 25, and that will give us 8. No, that will give us 8, which is a whole number, something that we are looking for. And here's our 8. We'll write it right there. And again, we'll multiply. We are doing the same procedure, guys. Ne? So we'll have 8 multiplied by 25. So 8 multiplied by 25 gives us what? It will give us 200. And then we have our subtraction sign. Don't forget to put it ne. And see, 200 multiplied minus 200, it gives us 0. Ne? So 200 minus 200 gives us 0. So it means that our decimal fraction is done. It can't go any further than this. Ne? So let's do another example. So when we do another example, we'll do number 2. So number 2, we had something like 3 over 5, 3 of 5, and we must convert it to a decimal without using a calculator, guys. Ne? But the easiest way, we can use the calculator, but you need to have the technique to calculate it without a calculator giving you a straight answer. Ne? So we'll use the very same method. We'll have our 3 inside and our 5 right here. Okay, let's erase this, guys. This is 5. It looks so weird. This is 5 right here. Okay, so we'll say 3 divided by 5. So 3 divided by 5 equals to how much? 3 divided by 5, it's 0, right? So we'll write our 0 right here, and we'll write our 0 right here. But this 0, guys, you can write it or at the beginning only, and you don't have to constantly write it, or you can write nothing, and then you know that when there's nothing and there's comma, then it obviously that nothing equals to our 0. Ne. So again, we are doing the same procedure until we receive our final correct answer. So since we have 30 now, we'll say 30 divide by 5. And 30 divided by 5 equals to what? Equals to 6. Let me just put it in brackets for you guys. 30 divided by 5 equals to 6. Ne? I'm just putting it in bracket just in case. Ne? And then again, we'll say 6 multiply by 5, and that will give us 30. And we will subtract 30 minus 30 equals to 0. So it means that our decimal number ends right here. Ne? So it means that it ends net here. Net here. Ne? So let's do the third one. The third one. So the third one, we had 5 over 8. To convert it to a decimal. Ne. So since we are converting it to a decimal, this is what we will do. We are using the very same procedure. And you know that your 5 is inside and your 8 is outside. Shame. So let's do it then. 5 divided by 8. How much is 5 divided by 8? Yes, it's 0, right? So we'll write our 0 right here and our 0 right here. And this will look like it will definitely look like a 50. So we'll say 50 divided by 8. 50 divided by 8 equals to what? 6. It equals to 6, right? So we'll have our 6 just right here. And then now that we have found the first fraction, you remember that we are repeating the same procedure, right? So most definitely we'll say 6 multiplied by 8. 6 multiplied by 8, and it will give us 40. It will give us 48, and then we subtract 50 minus 48 equals to 2. Ne? So now we are still continuing with the same procedure until it gives us 0. You remember, right? So until it gives us 0, we are not done. Ne? So here, 2 divided by 8 equals to what? Equals to 0. So we'll have our 0 just right here. 0. Ne? So again, we will continue with the same procedure. 20 divided by 8 equals to what? Equals to 2. Ne? 20 divided by 8, we can increase this, is 2. So now that we have found another second number, we can say 8 multiplied by 2. 8 multiplied by 2, and that will give us 16. And we must subtract, right? 20 minus 16, it gives us 4. Ne? So now you see that we are not done. 4 is not 0, right? And 4 does not look like 2. It looks like 4, right? So we need to continue again. So let's do it then. When we do it, we'll say 4 divided by 8, and that will give us 0 again. Ne? So we can have our 0 right here, and 40. Now we have 40. 40 divided by 8, it gives us how much? It gives us 5. So we'll continue writing it there. And we're doing the same procedure. 8 multiplied by 5. 8 multiplied by 5 equals to 40. And then we'll have our subtraction, and this will give us 0. So we are correct. So it means that our decimal ends right here. Ne? Our decimal ends right here. So guys, my advice to you, ne, when you are doing it on your own and you are converting fractions to a decimal, when you're converting fractions to a decimal and you want to verify your answer, you can use a calculator to verify your answer. Ne, use a calculator to verify your answer, not to get the answer. You must do it on your own first without using a calculator, and then after you can use a calculator to verify the answer to see if you are correct or not. That will be my advice. Don't just take a calculator, done. No, do it first on your own without a calculator. Thereafter, you can use a calculator. Ne? I hope that is clear. Ne? So now let's convert decimals to a fraction. Ne? So now we need to clear this. Guys, I will upload the slides again on Google Classroom. Just go to our Google Classroom and join us there. Guys, it's really fun, I'm telling you. And someone just now asked there by Google Classroom if we still have class. And someone also responded, yes, we do have a class today. You see how important it is. So if you're unsure about a lot of things, you can just comment. It's not like Zoom where we have a particular time. There is 24/7. You can ask anything, anytime. And then I will answer you as soon as possible. And you also, need to upload your activities there. So it's very important and convenient. Ne? So let's go to the second one, which is our second question, converting decimals to fractions. Ne. So here we'll be converting decimals to fractions. Ne. So you know that when I was reading the definition there for you, I told you guys that you can convert decimals to fractions and vice versa, meaning that you can also convert fractions to decimals to fractions, vice versa, back and forth, just like that. Ne? So here we have our first example for a decimal, because we need to convert this decimal to a fraction. Ne? So we'll use this example, which is 0,4. Ne? But before, let me explain this. So when you have your decimals, guys, for example, we'll use 0,1, 2, and 3. So on our decimals right here, guys, this represents this one right here. It represents 10th. Ne, our 10th. You remember when you are doing your not a number line. You have your 10th, your 100, your thousands, your 10,000, your 100,000. So this is how you name your decimal numbers. Ne? And the second one right here will be our hundreds. We'll name this our hundreds. We'll name this our hundreds. And this 3 right here, let me ask the question. This 3 right here, is it our 100, our thousands, or our what? Because 1 here, it's our 10ths, and 2, it's our hundreds, and 3 equals to what? You can just comment. We have 5 minutes remaining. Okay, so the 3 here, right here, it represents our thousands. Ne? So since you know this, you must know this by heart, guys. By heart. It's not you don't have a choice. You must know this by heart. Ne? So since now we know that 1, 2, 3, our first number it's our 10th, a first number after comma it's our 10th, and a second number after comma it's our hundreds, and the third number after comma it's our thousand, and the fourth number after comma it's our 10,000s. So there goes on and on and on and on. So we'll do this example right here, which is 0,4. So it means that this is what this 4 represents. What, guys? You can just tell me in the comment first. The 4 right here, it represents what? Let's check the comments first. The 4 represents what? Yes, the 4 right here. Guys, stop talking about other things, ne? Please. Natalie, sorry. I hope I did another example because I'm just seeing your comment right now. But I hope everything is clear by now. I hope so. So 4 represents our 10th, ne? So it means that we will have 4 over 10. Yay! You see how simple is this one right here? I love it so much. It's so simple. That's why you just need to know these numbers by heart. That after comma, the first number after comma, it's your 10th. The second number after comma, it's your hundreds. And the third number after comma, it's your thousands. But you can't keep your answer like this. You must simplify it. And when you know that when you simplify your answer, you must get your highest common factor. Ne? So when we do simplify, let's simplify 4 over 10. So what is our highest common factor? 4, 4, and 10. Highest common factor for 4 and 10 is what? Our highest common factor in this case, highest common factor equals to 2. That's our highest common factor for 4 and 10. So now let's do it. 4 divided by 2 equals to 2, and 10 divided by 2, that gives us 5. So now we have a simplified fraction. We converted a decimal fraction to a common fraction. Converting decimals to a common fraction. So let's do another example. This one, guys, is very easy. We can write it here again. The first number, this is our 10, and this is our 100, and this is our 1,000. Thousands. Okay, so our example in this case, we can have 0,25. So since we have 0,25, you know that this 2 right here represents our 10th, and this one right here represents our 100. Okay, so let's do it then. So in this case, we'll take the value of this number. So it means that we'll have 25 over 100. So it means we are correct. You see how easy is this one? It's just that you just need to know where your 1 stands, 2, and 3. That's it. Okay, so let's simplify this one then. When we simplify, we must get our highest common factor. So when we need to find our highest common factor, you know what we do. What is our highest common factor for 25 and 100? And our highest common factor must be a number below 25. It must not be above 25 because our lowest number is 25. So our highest common factor for 25 and 100 is what? Yes, you got that one right. Our highest common factor for 25 and 100 is 25. So 25 divided by 25 gives us 1. And 100 divided by 25, that gives us 4. So now we are correct. So now we are correct and good to go. Ne, I hope this was guys, I hope it was not difficult. Ne. So let's go back to our slides. So guys, here on our slides, you will complete this right here. This one I did the example and I also did one, but I didn't do the third one. So for your home activity, convert this decimal fraction right here to a common fraction. Ne, that's your home activity. And your home activity, it's this one right here. We have a table right here, ne? Common fraction, decimal fraction, and percentage. So what you would do is that you will convert 1/4 to a decimal, and you also convert 1/8 to a decimal fraction, and you'll convert 0.375 to a common fraction. And you'll also convert this one to a decimal, convert this common fraction right here to a decimal, and you convert this decimal fraction right here to a common fraction. Now, and you can also convert it to a percentage, but I didn't teach you that one. That is what we are going to do tomorrow. That's our next lesson we are going to do. We're going to convert our decimal fractions to a percentage. Name. So that's what we'll be doing tomorrow. So guys, thank you so much for joining me again. Don't forget Google Classroom. Google Classroom, guys. Please do not forget. It's very, very important. Ne? Guys, please don't forget Google Classroom. It's very important. Thank you guys so much, guys, for joining me. I will see you again tomorrow. For those who didn't join Google Classroom, I just put it right there. Just join our Google Classroom and tell your friends, guys. I see that our number has increased. I don't know if people are sleeping or what, but here's the class code, Aviwe. Here's the class code. Bye bye, Lesedi and everyone. I will see you again tomorrow. Please come back and do